Hello, and welcome to my presentation on what I think the Earth will be like in 5 million years. To start, I feel that in 5 million years, not all too much will be different. I predict that there will be minor changes in several geological things. However, the big change will occur in the climate, topography, and human aspects. I think that in the next 5 million years, the human race will either barely be around, having faced several near extinction events, or will be thriving because of all the new technology invented to protect themselves from these near extinction events that I will go into detail later. I think the reason that the human race will either be completely extinct or will be thriving depends completely on our technological advances in the next 100,000 to a million years. If we manage to get space travel in addition to many other sustainable technologies, I think that we will be able to survive pretty much any mass extinction event the Earth throws at us. However, if we are completely plagued by global warming, which I will talk about later, and are unable to create any new technologies because the Earth is so destroyed, I think that the human race will go extinct. I think that it's very necessary for us to have space travel in addition to probably technologies I can't even fathom in order to help us survive many of the natural disasters that I will be talking about later in this presentation. So, as you can see on the screen, we're obviously going to be facing some sort of volcanic eruption in the future, which I think will have a big impact on whether or not we survive. I also think that because of these many mass extinction events and many completely different events that we will be facing in the future, this will impact the topography and the climate and the geography a little bit. But I will get into all of these later on in the presentation. So to start, one of the main things that I found was that the continents aren't really going to drift all too much. Given that it's 5 million years, it's right to assume that the continents would drift. I mean, that's naturally what one would assume. However, most tectonic plates, which are the things that control the movement of the continents, most tectonic plates only move at around 10 to 100 millimeters per year, which, as you can see in the left side of the screen, over 5 million years, it would only move a maximum of 500 kilometers, which is about the size of Michigan plus Lake Huron and Lake Michigan. So it's not actually too huge of an impact. I think that some of the biggest changes in the continents are going to be around Africa and the southwest corner of the United States, mainly Southern California. Right in the middle of the picture, you see those dotted lines. Those are the rift zones, which is where the plates are kind of separating, the tectonic plates. This, of course, will lead to what I believe to be another little sea right over there. And if you look and you see the dark gray line, the plate boundary, right around the Horn of Africa, that's why I think in 5 million years we will not only have another small sea that'll maybe turn that small bit of Africa you can see right to the right of the dotted lines, it'll turn that into an island, but also the Horn of Africa will also turn into an island. If each plate is moving about 500 kilometers at maximum, there is definitely a good possibility that the Red Sea will have expanded, and you can look at all these other little lakes between the rift zones, and it's clear to see that this will probably become a much bigger inlet, maybe another sea. In addition, I think that in California, if you look in the picture on the right, directly to the south of the San Andreas fault line, I think that all of that area is going to move north so it's closer to San Francisco. And I think that these two entities are going to get closer to each other. However, I don't think that they're going to change too much, as we see at absolute maximum, it's only going to move about 500 kilometers. So I don't think that they're going to be, San Francisco and Los Angeles are going to be right next to each other. However, I feel like they are going to be close to each other. In addition, I also think that India will get smaller. This is because the plate boundaries for the Himalayan mountain, and I know this picture isn't the best, but if you look to the right, you can see how the East Indian plate, I have drawn arrows going over India to show how I think it's going to get smaller. I think that because the Himalayan mountains are the result of a convergent plate boundary, which is where the two plates, come up and make a mountain range. I think that this will continue, and the mountain range, the Himalayas actually, will get much bigger, and thus the land area of India will decrease, which is not a super good factor considering the very rapid population growth that India is currently experiencing. And actually, with this slide, I think there's going to be a lot of topographical changes. As you can see in blue, I've drawn in all of my predictions. So if you look in South America, I think that the mountains over there are going to get bigger. In addition, over by New Zealand and over in the Philippines, I think that they might get a few new islands, or at least some underwater volcano action. Also, I think that Hawaii is going to get a new island. I think this will make some very big topographical changes that we'll end up seeing in maybe not the near future, but within 5 million years. Obviously, one of the biggest upcoming changes in the topography of the Earth is the melting of the polar ice caps in addition to the ice sheets. Both the Greenland ice sheet and the Antarctic ice sheet are at risk of melting, and if these two sheets melt, the global sea levels will rise about 240 feet, which, as you can kind of see on the map there, is quite a bit. I mean, Florida is going to be completely underwater. Obviously, this will happen in 5 million years. Many scientists predict it will happen as soon as 5,000 years. And that means that by 5 million years, it will definitely have happened at some point. That is not to say that at year 5 million AD, there will be no Florida. There are going to be several other changes that occur by then that I will get to later in this presentation that I think will happen. With this change and with the population growth of the United States, we're going to be facing some problems here. I mean, our usable land in most of our big cities are going to be going underwater, which it's heavily going to change the topography. Also, many of the forests and the interesting biomes that occur in these places are going to be gone. Some people say that we can stop this. However, even if we were to completely cut fossil fuel emissions today, would just delay it a little bit. It's inevitably going to happen no matter what. Another impact on the topography is the impact of the meteor Totalis. Although NASA reports that this meteor won't hit Earth in the next 400 years, I believe that there is a very good chance that this meteor will have some contact with Earth in the next 5 million years. I think that there will be some sort of event to change the course, whether it be the changes in the sun's gravitational field or the changes in other planetary gravitational fields. I feel like this meteor's path will be changed and it will impact Earth. Obviously, this meteor impact will have a big effect on the topography. Also, I think that the climate in the next 5 million years will heavily change. I think that in the near future, we will see the impacts of global warming. As you can see on this GIF in the bottom right corner, the red and orange colors on the map indicate where the average temperature has risen. You can see in most places recently it's risen upwards of 2 degrees Celsius, which is quite a big jump. But I will talk more into that later. So, I think that with global temperatures increasing and sea levels rising, there will be major changes to the climate. Many of these changes stem from the effects of global warming and having high levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Some of these include, extreme weather events such as heat waves, droughts, blizzards, rainstorms, and other natural disasters of that sort will occur much more often and with greater intensity due to the higher global temperatures. I also believe that with the ocean acidification due to the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere being absorbed into the ocean, coral reefs will completely disappear, and potentially the ocean might be so acidic that humans are not able to swim in the ocean safely. However, I will get into that more as I feel like there are some major climate events that I haven't covered that are either going to cause extinction for humans or cause the near extinction of humans, which will allow the carbon dioxide levels and the effects of global warming to kind of decrease over the latter period of the 5 million years. But in the near future, I believe that all these things will happen, and it will not be good. I also think that, with the warmer global temperatures, the spread of diseases will rise a lot, which is not good for us humans, and it's also not good for the biodiversity on our planet, like the animals and plants. Many of these things being exposed to different diseases and pests that they had not been exposed to before will probably cause their disappearance. In addition, drought and severe weather, in addition to lower snowmelt amounts, all of these things will have an impact on farming and will potentially uh, cause crop failures and hurt the global food production. In addition, because of the higher carbon levels that lead to the higher global temperatures, this whole process is delaying an ice age. Ice ages can only really occur when the global carbon dioxide levels fall between 240 ppm, which is particles per million. This has to do with global sea temperatures and the ability for big ice shelves to form. The carbon dioxide level right now is about 410 ppm on a daily basis, which is much, much higher than the level needed for a ice age. As you can see in the bottom left graph, the global carbon dioxide amounts have really been on the rise recently. You can see the obviously exponential upwards trend. But ice ages are known to occur every 4,100 years, and it's been right about more than that, or at least it will be more than that very soon. So by keeping the global carbon dioxide levels up, the probability of an ice age occurring has actually been decreasing. And it is very safe to say that at least in the next 100,000 years, there won't be an ice age. However, I think in the next 5 million years, there will definitely be more than one. It depends on how us humans react to the ice age and what we end up doing. I don't think that many concerns are placed over having an ice age right now. It's not even something that most people consider, and obviously no legislation has been enacted to prevent ice ages. But once humanity gets its first taste of an ice age, which will happen in the next 100,000 years or so, I think there will obviously be very serious laws and rules put into place if humanity can survive the ice age. I think that's an important thing to note. This ice age that's coming up, and many of the ice ages that will be coming up eventually, these may cause the extinction of the human race. I don't think that humanity right now is well equipped to survive an ice age, and it will definitely cause a reduction in numbers, which will have the adverse effect of decreasing global carbon levels. But I think, yes, if we manage to survive the ice age, by that point in time, we will have enough technology that global carbon levels will be down and ice ages will be occurring every 4,100 years. And I think that in the 4,100 years that don't have an ice age, I don't think that carbon levels will get as high as they are now. But yes, this major climate event will change the topography and the climate many times in the next 5 million years. In addition, as you could see from my first explanatory slide, I think there's going to be a major volcano eruption. The supermassive volcano under Yellowstone, I feel like, is going to end up erupting at least in the next 5 million years. The last eruption occurred 2.1 million years ago. Scientists with the National Park Service predicted that the volcano will erupt in the next 100,000 to millions of years, meaning that we will either have one or two more eruptions from this volcano. The fallout from this eruption, I think, would induce short-term destruction of the Midwest, and it'll either completely destroy the agriculture, and it'll probably completely change the topography. Overall, this eruption is going to be a major climate event. With all the ash in the air, too, in addition to all the sulfur dioxide in the air, both of these things will make global warming much worse. They both pretty much have the same effects as carbon dioxide. Sulfur dioxide also reflects sunlight back into space and helps trap sunlight in the earth. I also don't think that this eruption will cause the extinction of the human race. I'm pretty positive humans would survive based on the research that I've done. By the time it occurs, we will have enough technology, I feel, to survive it. I mean, as I mentioned in my second slide with the pictures of spaceships, I think that in at least a million years, we will have mastered space travel in some form, so this eruption won't have a super huge effect on us. Also, my last slide, I mentioned that after the first few ice ages, I don't think that global warming will be as much of a problem in the years that don't have ice ages. However, I feel like this eruption, whenever it occurs, even if it occurs in a ice age, I feel like it will heavily impact the global temperature. Due to, who knows, maybe this eruption will be bigger than the last one and more ash will come out, which could potentially cause a mass extinction. And we don't know when this eruption will occur. Scientists predict that it'll happen far out, but some event that could trigger it in the next 100 years or so. I also think that with this eruption, it's going to massively affect the biodiversity on Earth, which can really harm us if we decide to come back to this planet. I'm assuming that we have space travel, but it will decrease our ability to learn from nature as there, aren't many species left. And in addition, a lot of food chains will be destroyed, or at least harmed by this. And especially if these animals have adapted to living in very cold climates. Okay, that's my presentation.